Hello there, adventurers, and welcome to Wally DM. Today our adventuring party are fulfilling a quest, and to do this they must travel up through a clock tower. There's 5 levels of this clock tower, and each one presents an encounter that they need to not only get past, but find clues while they're there. When they finally reach the top of the clock tower, they'll need to solve a puzzle in order to fulfill the quest. Today we're going to take a look at the clock tower. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the clock tower puzzle, and after we're done, we're going to discuss ideas on how we can incorporate this into our campaign, use it as part of a one-shot, or maybe a sub-quest idea. Now, during the puzzle, I am going to be using a D60, but you don't need a D60 to run the puzzle. You're more than welcome to randomly determine the numbers or pick out numbers that work for you. So with that in mind, let's take a look at the clock tower puzzle. So the way that I envision this puzzle is it's going to take place in a clock tower, so kind of a little bit of a dungeon crawl, if you will, and there's going to be 5 different levels. Now on each of the first 4 levels, there's going to be an automaton that the adventuring party is going to encounter. Now each one is going to have a little bit of a different area, and it's going to look a little bit different. So let's take a look at level 1. So level 1, our automaton kind of looks like you can really tell that there's gears and cranks and all kinds of different mechanical pieces. And if the characters look really close and we can allow a perception check, they're going to notice 2 things. Number 1, they're going to notice this automaton has both hands in its pocket. And the second thing they'll notice is there is a numeral 2 engraved on this automaton's chest. Now what I plan for this puzzle is we will roll initiative as soon as they come in here, and this automaton here during its attack will fling its hands out of its pocket and throw gears. So its attack is reaching into its pockets and flinging gears at the party. So I will probably have it almost kind of like a magic missile. So there'll be like 4 different gears. I'll be able to pull out enough gears to hit everyone in the adventuring party. Now again, the party will notice that there is a numeral 2 on the chest of this automaton. And when they finish and they defeat this, they will be able to look at the chest, they'll see the number 2, and then they will be able to actually open it. Now, another idea that I had is perhaps they had a set of keys and they needed a key to unlock the chest of this automaton, or perhaps we just have like a little latch and it opens up. Now when they open up the chest of this clockwork figure, they're going to see a second number. Now if you have a D60, I would probably give this to your players and allow them to roll it. Like right here, I rolled a 42. And so when the characters open it, they'll see the numbers 4 and 2. So we have a 2 on the outside and 2 on the inside. If you don't have a D60 to roll, then you can just make the numbers up however you see fit. But since I do have a D60, I just plan on handing that to the players and letting them determine what number is inside. So it's a little bit of fun for them, and perhaps maybe a little bit of a red herring as they try to figure out why am I rolling this number. Now it's time for our characters to move up to level 2. So when our adventurers come up to level 2 of the clock tower, this is a little bit of a different scene. The automaton is in this room and is actually sitting in this chair here, but in front of this automaton are 4 smaller versions, almost like child clockwork-like creatures. And this one here is sitting in the chair almost as if speaking to this 4. And then when the adventurers come in, of course we roll for initiative. These little clockwork creatures will attack. And this one here, if the characters look closely at it, will notice a couple of things. The first thing they're going to notice is the numeral 11 on the chest of this creature. And again, it has like this little compartment that looks like it can be open. The second thing they'll notice is the features of this automaton make it look older. Even though it doesn't have hair or anything like that, it does look like that the creator intended for this automaton to look like an elderly person. So this is a little bit of an older person, perhaps maybe a little bit more of an eccentric clockwork design. And the attack form that I have planned for this one is this cane that it's carrying. And when it shoots out this ray from the cane, so it'll like aim its cane at one of the characters, and they'll need to make a saving throw, or they'll age 1d4 years or 1d8 years, whatever I decide to do. So this automaton here has a cane of aging, and again, once the characters defeat the automatons, they'll be able to take a closer look, and again they see as kind of a made to be more of an elderly human appearance, and they'll see this 11 on the chest. And if they open this compartment on the chest, again we can hand our d60 to our players if we have one available. This time I get a 17, or we can just create a number off the top of our head. So the number that they see underneath the 11, they open the compartment, is a 17. So this room has been cleared. Now our adventurers can head up to level 3. Now on level 3 of the clock tower, again, they come up to the top here. We roll for initiative, and this automaton here is kind of just a clockwork figure, human form. Perhaps they have a weapon. Perhaps they have 2 weapons. Maybe we'll give this one 2 weapons. They've got an axe in one hand, a sword in the other, so they'll have 2 attacks. But this automaton also has a number on its chest, and that is the number 7. Now another feature of this level is what looks like birdhouses along the side here. And once the characters cross this line here, so if they move into this area, each of these birdhouses will spit out a crazy looking clockwork bird. And up to you as the DM on the stats of these, but I'm sure we'll give them a flying speed and some kind of an attack form, whether it be just a bite or maybe something with its voice that does some kind of psychic damage. Up to you again as the DM, but they'll come out and they will also get a turn in the initiative. Perhaps it'll be almost like a trap. As soon as this person hits in here, all of them just come out and attack this person at once. But again, this is kind of and if the characters look at it and if they start killing these things off, they'll notice that it's kind of this weird, crazy looking bird. Perhaps the eyes are just like twitching all over the place, so they kill one and the eyes still twitch around and look around in this irradical manner or something like that. So crazy weird birds. And then this one here, our bird keeper, so to speak, and that will be the encounter here. Once these are all defeated, they'll be able to look at the chest of this character, and again we can hand our d60 over to our players or just give them a number that's underneath. 23. So again, on the chest of the automatons, the number 7, they open up this little cabinet, and underneath of it is the number 23. This level has been cleared. Perhaps maybe put a little bit of treasure in these birdhouses that they can find if they decide to search. And we continue on and move on to level 4. So here we are on level 4, and this room is fairly empty with the exception of a bed, and the automaton in this room is actually laying down on this bed. However, once the characters get about 15 feet into the room, an alarm will sound. And when this alarm goes off, we'll have each of these characters make a saving throw versus whatever it is we need, or else they'll take some powerful psychic damage as this alarm or this sound, I mean just this G, 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 just keeps ringing in their ears. And every turn that they're in this room, they'll have to make a saving throw again or take some damage. Now when these sounds start to go off, then this automaton will step up and attack. Of course, those that made the saving throw, I'll allow if they want to rush up and attack this automaton, they can, but the ones that did not make the saving throw will be stunned for that round. And that'll be pretty much it for this one here. This automaton will draw a rapier or whatever it has on it and will go to attack them. And again, each round until this thing is dead, they'll hear this annoying sound in their ears, and if they fail a saving throw, they take some damage and are stunned for that round. Now again, once this automaton falls flat, the piercing sounds will stop, and they'll see the number 5 on the chest of this, and again, they can open this to find a number inside, and that number is going to be 4. But the number 4 is going to have a 0 in front of it, so it's going to be 04. And that's all there is in this room, so let's go to the final level and find the puzzle of this clock tower. So finally our characters have reached the 5th level of the clock tower, and as they come in here, there are 4 automatons, all resembling ones they've previously encountered. However, these do not have numbers on them, and they're kind of just standing along the side motionless. The characters can attack them, they will just slump over, and they will not do anything. Now also in this room are 4 objects. We've got a grandfather clock along this wall. We have a desk here, and if the characters search the desk, they'll find a pocket watch. So big enough to fit in the palm of your hand. It's got a little bit of a chain coming off, and it can be wound up, things of that nature. There is a table over here. Sitting on top of that table is a small clock with a couple of bells on top of it. And then along this wall over here is this clock that looks like this right here. So with everything that the characters have already been through, and seeing the 4 clocks or timepieces, do you know how to solve the puzzle? I'll give you a minute if you'd like to figure it out. Did you get it? Great. So let's go over the answer. Starting with level 1, if you remember correctly, that there was an automaton that was reaching into its pockets and grabbing out gears and throwing the gears at the adventuring party. The automaton on level 1 had a 2 on the outside, and opening the cabinet on the clockwork being revealed a 42. So in this instance, we're going to take the clue of the automaton reaching into its pockets to pair it with the pocket watch, and the characters will need to set the time on the pocket watch to 2:42, the number that was on the outside of the automaton and the number on the inside, so 2:42. Now if you remember on level 2, we had an elderly looking clockwork being with a few what looked like child clockwork figures, and the elderly being was sitting in a chair and it attacked with a cane, and that's made to represent a grandfather. So we're now going to move over to the grandfather clock, and if you remember, the number on the outside was 11 and the number on the inside was 17. The characters will need to adjust the time on the grandfather clock to 11:17. Now on level 3, there was these strange birds that popped out of the birdhouses, and that is going to resemble a cuckoo clock, and they were probably making all these weird noises and things of that nature. And the automaton with the cuckoo clock had a 7 on the outside and a 23 on the inside. So the characters will need to set the cuckoo clock to 7:23. And the final level, level 4, actually had an automaton that was sleeping, but once the characters came in, it sounded an alarm, and we have a clock here with bells on it, so an alarm clock. And the numbers on that automaton were 504. So if the characters set this to 504, then they have correctly solved the puzzle. So that's the clock tower puzzle. Now I did have 2 issues when I was putting this puzzle together. And the first was the delivery method. I knew that I wanted to use a grandfather clock, a pocket watch, an alarm clock, and a cuckoo clock as the delivery methods, or to input the solution to the puzzle, but I wasn't sure on how to get the clues to the players. It was kind of last minute that I came up with the automatons putting the number on the chest of the automaton. They defeat the automaton, they open the chest up, and they see the second number. So the number on the front is the hours, the number inside is the minutes. And I think that suffices well. But if you have a different way that you would use this to give clues other than the clockwork figures, I'd love to hear about it. Make sure you leave a comment below. Now the second issue I had with this puzzle is, how can I make this make sense? How would I use this in a game? And I haven't really come up with a strong reason yet, but I do have some ideas. One of my ideas is simply a cartoon-like villain. Perhaps the entire town is frozen in time. When the characters get to this town, everybody is frozen, time has stopped, and they figure out that they need to go to this clock tower because this evil cartoony villain has stopped time. And in order to get time moving again, they've got to go through the 5 levels, solve the puzzle, and once they do, time is restored, and the town is back to normal. Now again, we could use that same cartoony villain. Perhaps the characters need to go up and turn this clock off, and the only way to turn it off is to again go through all 4 levels and to solve the puzzle at the end. And if they don't, then a portal opens up from the future, and our cartoony villain brings in all of these forces from the future, the past, what have you, and then starts to wipe out the town or attack the village. My second idea on how we could use this is perhaps this is just a puzzle test. Maybe a faction or some type of a guild requires our adventuring party to go through this and solve it in order to become a part of this. And this was designed by a famous artificer or a famous wizard in the town that's well known for creating puzzles and simulations like this. And the third and final reason where I thought maybe this puzzle, the Clockwork Tower puzzle, would exist in a world and the characters would need to solve it is to serve as a portal to the plane of Mechanus. And I hope I'm pronouncing that right, correct me if I'm wrong, but Mechanus is the plane of clockwork and gears and things of that nature. So perhaps our Clockwork Tower was built by an artificer that was either trying to get to Mechanus, or maybe we're already on Mechanus and we are trying to get back to the material plane. So we can use the Clock Tower puzzle as a way to dimensional travel between the material plane and Mechanus. So that's all I have for you today. Again, that's the Clock Tower puzzle. And what did you think of it? Is there anything that you would do differently? And I would definitely look forward to reading comments on how you would provide clues if you're not going to use the automatons. But even better yet, how would you use this in your game? How would you make this make sense? Why does this puzzle exist? Make sure to leave a comment below. I love presenting an idea like this and seeing the twists and turns and the different ways that you would use this. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and on to the next. And my fourth and final reason that this may exist in a world is simply as a means to time travel. Perhaps the characters need to go back in the past or back to the future and solve a few things that way. And the only way to time travel is to go up through the clock tower, and once they figure out the puzzle at the end, then they are transported back in time or wherever they need to go.